What I like to say is, the way I like to word it, this way, because, I mean, really, I think we do have more evidence for those things you mentioned than we probably do Jesus Christ. But I like to tell people, well, what harm would it do? Because, especially the information that you have just now about, even if there was a Jesus, the book of Mark shows us that there was an embellishment way after anyway.
Well, I mean, right. So there are people who want to know what Jesus really did say.
Right.
And, that assumes that he really existed.
And that we can't know.
You have to look at the evidence.
What is the evidence? Because even that we cannot know for sure. But I guess you would say we can look at the earliest manuscripts that date to around when he should have existed or something, or what? What do we have? Because we don't have anything that exists right until after he died, allegedly, right?
About him, you mean?
Right, about Jesus.
Well, that's true of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, not really. Aren't there some? I thought there were some. Well, I guess so. But I thought that there were some contemporary that there are some writers who'd write about people as they existed, like with Julius Caesar, weren't there?
But we don't have. We don't have anybody from that time talking to us now. All we have are ancient records.
Right, but again,
all we have for Jesus are ancient records.
But we don't have any ancient records of anyone who wrote about Jesus while he was alive, do we?
No, absolutely not.
And we don't that's the difference.
Just as we don't have for billions of people who lived in the past that we're pretty sure existed. We have more evidence for Jesus than we have for almost anybody from his time period. So, I'm not saying this as a believer. I'm not a believer, but as a historian, I'm just saying that you can't just kind of dismiss it and say, well, we don't know. You have to look at the evidence. So there is hard evidence, I think.
Okay. I would look for archaeological evidence as well.
Well, for example, we have one author who actually knew Jesus' relatives and knew his disciples.
And who was that?
Paul.
How do we know that?
Because we have Paul's letters.
How do we know he didn't lie about it?
Why would he lie about it?
Well, there are people.
Paul says things about Jesus as off-the-cuff comments, where he's not making a point. And see, that's very important to historians. In other words, a historian wants to find disinterested comments.
Right.
And Paul has disinterested comments where he says things, for example, about James, the brother of the Lord, which is just an off-the-cuff comment because everybody that he's writing to knows who he's talking about. So he just makes the off-the-cuff comment. That's very important information.
And that is if he wrote them.
Disciples. Now,
if he even wrote that
comment about the 12 disciples, if in fact, so the whole point is that you've got a disinterested comment from somebody who actually knew these people.
If he even wrote that, though, correct? Because isn't there some?
No, there's no doubt about Paul writing Galatians.
Aren't there some theories that suggest that maybe Paul himself had scribes that wrote for him?
Well, every person who wrote epistles in the ancient world dictated them to scribes.
Right. So how do we know then that?
Well, how do you know Cicero wrote his letters?
I don't. I'm not a historian, so I don't know much about Cicero. But
no, I am a historian. I'm telling you.
But there are some. but there are many historians who disagree with you, aren't they?
No, none that I've ever heard of.
Oh, really?
Well, not serious historians.
Not serious historians.
Listen, I know thousands of scholars of the ancient world, and I don't know any one of these scholars who doubts that Paul wrote Galatians.
Okay.
So these are people who have devoted their lives to this, and a lot of them are like me. It's not that I've got a personal investment in Paul. I'm not even a Christian.
Right.
I'm just saying, as a historian, there's no doubt Paul wrote Galatians.